Welcome back to another Skipper segment brought to you by Owner's Box Fantasy Sports. Jeremy and I, once again, are going to help you build and manage the best fantasy baseball team possible for the 2021 MLB season. Today's segment, we're going to do must-avoid players based on their average draft position. These players still have some value, but we think their ADPs are much too high, and we are going to tell you why. Jeremy, your first player.
My first player is Luis Robert on the Chicago White Sox. He's currently ranked as the number 9th outfielder. Rookie season last year, guy showed some promise with his power. But I mean, he was bottom 6% in the league in strikeout percentage at 32.2. He had one of the highest whiff percentages in the MLB at 41.6%. I mean, number 9 ranked outfielder for a rookie going into his second year who hit 233, I think is just crazy. Guys who, like Judge, who have shown that they have power, are ranked behind him. I think it's just wild. I think he does have value and he can be crazy, but I mean, he has speed, but if he's not getting on base, then his speed's worth nothing. So I think it's too early and it's too risky of pick as the number 9th outfielder. I think he's overrated. I think that he should be avoided at his current ADP.
Don't hate that at all. It is for a sophomore season when you hit 233 the year before. The upside's there. Everyone sees the upside. He's an incredible athlete, but I agree at that ADP, it is much too high. So for me, my first player to avoid is Royals shortstop Adalberto Mondesi. Last year, July and August, he only hit 186, and he had 8 stolen bases in that time. Well, his last 24 games, he hit 356 with 6 home runs and 24 stolen bases. Although his stolen base numbers are going to be high, they're going to be some of the highest in the league every year. Like, they're nearly unmatched. He has mediocre power, and his average numbers aren't great. He has a decent batting average on balls in play, but that's just on speed. He's beating out those infield singles. He's doing all that stuff. The speed plays there. I mean, I don't believe that he'll be able to take the magic from the second half of last year's season. Those are unbelievable numbers. 356 over those games for wild. Him is crazy. And his ADP right now is 32. He's going 32nd. I think that's just way too high. The shortstop class this year is loaded with talent, I think. A lot of sleepers in there that you can get some value from. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a good fantasy option, but I don't think he's a top 20 hitter in this year's fantasy class.
Yeah, he's an odd one. I mean, he came up from the minors, and then he was just this new type of shortstop who had speed, who could swipe bags. He keeps climbing up the ranks. I mean, he can hit for average and he has speed, but the power obviously isn't there. So you're right though. I think he's a little risky picking that high up, and he's climbed up the ranks where he's, like you said, around the 30s ADP, which is pretty prestige.
Top 20 hitter.
Yeah. With some of the top players in the MLB, I don't think he's ready for that type of title.
Yeah. He's going to hit 250 maybe. Like, I don't see him being a top 20 hitter.
Yeah.
Your second pick.
I did a starting pitcher here. We both did. I picked Sonny Gray of the Reds. This was tough, picking a pitcher who was overrated. But Sonny Gray, he was the one that just, his numbers didn't pop off to me, and ranked as the 22nd best starting pitcher was just too high in my eyes. He plays on a bad team. His record won't be very good. I know he was 5-3 last year, but the Reds, I think they didn't get better and they didn't get worse. So I don't think his record improves. I think he had a couple outliers in the short season. I mean, opponents' exit velo was his best of the year. Opponents' barrel percentage was his best of the year, his whole career. And he usually averages around 6%, the opponents, but last year was 3%. So I think even with those numbers, he had a 3.7 ERA and an expected ERA of 4.01. So I think that he can't get better than I think that he's just going to not have a very good year. I think that's too high. There's a couple pitchers that I like more than him who are below him, and that's Ryu, Henricks, Strasburg, Barrios, and Wheeler. Those are 5 pitchers right there. I'd take him over Sonny Gray any day of the week. So I think he's too high. He's too high and he's too risky at that ADP.
Don't hate that at all. You gave us good points there, Jer. My pitcher as well, I did one position player, one pitcher. My pitcher to avoid is White Sox right-hander Lance Lynn, newly acquired. He had a good 2020 season, good strikeout numbers. He had good swing and miss stuff. When he started implementing that sinker a couple years ago, the velo went up a couple years ago as well, and he's kind of been a good pitcher since then. But I think there's some underlying like warning signs on why we should be avoiding Lance Lynn this year. Last year, his batting average on balls in play against was 2018, 2019, his batting average on balls in play against were some of the highest in the league, like well above league average. They were reduced in 2020 with some help, like a little bit of luck. That year, he had 79.4% left on base. That is an incredible amount of people left on base. Like that, you're playing good baseball, you're making good pitches in quality spots, but I don't think he can continue that as well. It was the best of his career, and 42.3% fly ball percentage last year made his home runs per nine increase to the greatest of his career. You're playing at guaranteed rate field now, which is a hitter's park. And because of that, I do not think that he'll be as successful. I think the ADP of 55 is way too low for Lance Lynn this year. Yes, Yasmani Grandal is one of the best pitch framers in the league, so that will help him here. But I have him outside the 100 in rankings. I don't think he's a top 60 player at all. So that's my avoid Lance Lynn of the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, Lance Lynn is a crazy story. I mean, 2 years ago, this guy was a waiver wire pickup. And now he comes in, and obviously he's a big strikeout guy. I mean, he's been in the top 10 strikeouts before. There's no surprise there that he can strike people out. I think it'll be interesting to see how he transitions to an actual good team for being with the Rangers. I'm not sure how that transition is going to work, but the fact that this guy actually had a winning record with the Texas Rangers last year, that kind of makes me more optimistic with him switching over to the White Sox. Obviously, I think he's number 2 in that rotation. I don't know if I don't think that he's overrated, but I think that he's positioned well. But I do agree with your point on what you're saying, and that we could potentially see a down year from him. He's getting old. Some of his numbers probably won't be the same. He has to adjust to a new team in a new division.
Yeah, he's going into his age 34 season. We're going to start to see some decline from Lance here soon. That's our segment for today. Comment down below who you think's overrated. Do you like our plays? Do you like our picks? Let us know what you think. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.